well for joining us on this. And moving on, Prime Minister Modi addressed the Indian origin Tamil community at Norwood Grounds in Dickoya town of Sri Lanka today. He chose this platform to invoke MGR, Lauding MGR and Tamil pride. Modi said MGR was born on this soil. He also assured the Lankan Tamils of full support in their endeavours towards peace and prosperity.
Another national icon of India from later years, Pratajit Talaivar MGR was born on this very soil, establishing a lifelong connection. And in more recent times, you have gifted to the world one of the finest spinners in cricket, Muthaiya Muralitharan.
This visit, I think, is significant in the sense that he has underlined that India is a friend of Sri Lanka, of all Sri Lankans. And the speech that he made also underlined that the ties, the Buddhist ties, the age-old ties, and greater cooperation and participation in the economy of Sri Lanka, which Sri Lanka also needs. So this may be a turning point, in a sense, in the relations between India and Sri Lanka.
And for more on this particular story, I'm joined by our guest live at this point. Major General Ashok Mehta, former GOC of Indian Peacekeeping Force, is with us here in the Noida studio. We're also joined by Dr. Aijaz Ilmi, leader of the BJP, who's joining us from the national capital, New Delhi, as well as A. Sarvanan, member of the DMK, who's with us from Chennai. Suman Siraman, political analyst, is also with us from Chennai, and is AP Madan, editor of the Tamil Mirror from Colombo. I'll begin with you, Mr. Madan, coming in from Colombo. How do you look at these developments? How significant has this trip been? Is it a trip that is very different in its tenor? It certainly did seem so in terms of the engagements that we've seen over the past 24 hours that Prime Minister Modi has been involved in his trip to Sri Lanka. How would you look at this particular trip, and how does it change things on ground?
As a minority peoples here, they are very happy to be here at Modiji's visit in Sri Lanka, because you know, the minority peoples always seeking some help from the neighborhood country. That's like the India is always helping to us, especially for the minority peoples, and also the relationship with upcountry people and Indian origin people. Always the Indian origin peoples are living in upcountry area, the tea planters and plantation workers, and they are suffering a lot of political wise and economy wise and everywhere. So in this time, I feel very good because of that people who are very happy for the Modiji's visit, and he has quoted several things. Especially, he knows the pulse of Tamil peoples, and they are always loving with the Indian cinema, especially in South Indian cinema. The Star of Force and MGR is very close to with the Sri Lankan people. So he born in here, and he has helped a lot of things to Tamil peoples and here also. In that point, he has quoted that MGR and Muthaiya Muralitharan, the famous cricketer and famous star, and also the former chief minister of Tamil Nadu. So this is a turning point. He has touched the Tamil people's mindset and the mind also. I feel better this kind of quote made for that people.
Right. Major General Ashok Mehta, how do you look at this particular trip? How much of a game changer has it really been? He's appealed to both the Sinhala population as well as the minority Tamil population, and he has at some level or the other sort of built an image of being someone who's sensitive to the concerns of all sides, and of course at the same time, projecting an image of equality, etc. during this entire trip. How far do you think the messaging has been that successful as far as this trip of Prime Minister Modi is concerned?
Well, this cultural diplomacy using Buddhist religion, which is the central tenet of the Sinhalese nation, is a very good idea, because as Prime Minister Modi has said, that Buddhism was born in India and it spread from India north, south, and in various directions. But I think the larger geopolitical picture is different in Sri Lanka today. The larger geopolitical picture is not just upcountry or plantation Tamils or the Jaffna Tamils, but there is a huge majority of Sinhalese whom he has addressed. But if you look at our focus, India's focus over the last decade and more, the focus is north and the east. Now, there was a reason why we were doing this. There was the reason was largely political. There are 39 members of parliament who represent Tamil Nadu, and those 39 numbers at one time with the UPA government not having the numbers were very important. That is not the case today. And therefore, I would have thought that there would have been some shift both in the developmental focus as well as in the political focus. Our developmental effort is confined to the north and the east. So that's one point. And the second point I would like to make is right now, what stood out during this visit and which was quite uncanny, it was quite unprecedented, that both the Prime Minister and the President of Sri Lanka accompanied him almost throughout the trip.
Right.
The Prime Minister of Sri Lanka received him, and wherever Mr. Modi went, both of them were together. Now, there is, of course, a very good reason behind this, and the good reason is this. Right now, you have a government that is friendly to India, and this government is a very unique government of two parties that have historically opposed each other, and this cohabitation that you see today is quite unnatural in many ways, and therefore...
Major General Mehta, let me just get across to our other panelists as well. You made a number of points over there. Let me go across to Ejaz Ilmi of the BJP who's with us. Ejaz Ilmi, Major General Ashok Mehta makes several important points, particularly the political points, when he says that the pressure that was there perhaps on previous sort of regimes is not there currently on this government. It's a much freer government perhaps in that sense in terms of domestic political concerns, as well as you have a regime which is perhaps more amenable to India. In that light, perhaps it's a great opportunity for India to act. I think we've lost that line there with Ejaz Ilmi. We will try and reconnect with him once again. But let me put that question across to the DMK. Saravanan is joining us on the story. Saravanan, Major Ashok Mehta makes a number of political points, as you must have heard him speak over here. He says the pressure that was there earlier, domestically speaking, as far as parliamentarians is concerned, is not there on this government, which is not to say that Tamil Nadu's interest will not be served by this government, but certainly, of course, these are important factors. There's also a regime over there which is perhaps more amenable to India. Now, given the fact that also there are political reasons that many would say as far as the central government here is focusing on Tamil Nadu, how do you view this reaching out, this outreach, the mentioning of MGR, for instance, on ground over there by Prime Minister Modi?
While coming to the Major General's comments, I think that is very unfortunate. It speaks the mindset of the entire people up from North India who does not have any any concern or any ground knowledge of the situation in the state of Tamil Nadu or in the state of Lanka. They have used this word geopolitical strategy to strangle the rights of Sri Lankan Tamils. That has been happening so long, so forth. But right now, knowledge of the situation in the state of Tamil Nadu or in the state of Lanka, they have used this word geopolitical strategy to strangle the rights of Sri Lankan Tamils. That has been happening so long, so forth. But right now, at least we can be happy that there is peace in Sri Lanka.
Can't hear him.
But there is yet another important issue. Our leader, Mr. M.K. Stalin, was insisting that when the Prime Minister wanted announced that he is going to go to Sri Lanka for Buddha Purnima, he wanted this Tamil fishermen's killing to be spoken about. Because this is an important meeting, because as pointed out by everybody, this government is amenable to the Indian government. So our leader insisted that they should start talking about this this killing of the Tamil fishermen and the day-to-day issue of taking away the boats belonging to the Tamil fishermen. So this issue, if the Prime Minister had done something about it, we would have been very, very happy about it. Unfortunately, I think that has not happened, and we are only talking about a geopolitical strategy which is not going to be of any help without addressing the issue of Indians.
Let me take that question to the BJP.
By the Sri Lankan Navy.
All right, let me take that question to the BJP. You've raised a pertinent point there, Sarvanan. Ejaz Ilmi is with us. Ejaz Ilmi, geopolitical concerns have overridden the concerns of Tamil Nadu fishermen. That's the direct charge coming in from the DMK. Your response to that?
Well, Mr. Sarvanan is truly entitled to say what he wants to say, but to assume that Mr. Ashok Mehta or somebody from the BJP or any other Indian is not concerned about India as a sovereign nation, of which Tamil Nadu is definitely a part of it. We understand that you can't be the sole spokesperson of Tamil rights. Tamils are dear to us. We may be in North India, but they are very dear to us as Indian citizens. So I'll speak as an Indian rather than somebody in a more isolated fashion. The Prime Minister did very well to reach out and address the Indian ethnic Sri Lankan Tamil community. We are talking to sovereign citizens of a sovereign country who happen to be a minority there from the Indian origin. So the fact is, but they are Sri Lankan citizens. We will deal with them as Sri Lankan citizens because every country is a sovereign entity, and the Prime Minister understands that. We don't believe in meddling in affairs. Yes, we have an issue with Tamil fishermen which needs to be addressed time and again. It's been long-standing, and yes, there are issues of people crossing the international international maritime boundaries of each other, and people get arrested. But there has to be a better mechanism to address this issue. But to isolate the larger picture of an outreach by the Prime Minister of India to reach out to a sovereign nation, and whether it's Sinhalese or Tamil, but all Sri Lankan citizens, that India is not a big brother, but we are here as a friendly neighbor out there to cooperate and participate with you in your economic well-being, in your cultural well-being, in your social well-being.
Let me get a quick reaction on this from Suman C. Raman, who's been waiting very patiently. Thank you for waiting, Suman C. Raman. But you've heard the arguments of all our panelists thus far. The BJP says that's an outreach program. The Prime Minister has been successful, in reaching out to the Sinhalese and Tamil populations. References to MGR notwithstanding. But Sarvanan of the DMK says that basic issues like the Tamil fishermen issue, have not been raised. At a time when, for instance, this BJP here at the center is looking at entering several states where it does not have a major role to play, politically speaking, particularly Tamil Nadu, how do you think this is all going to play out eventually when it comes to real politics, when it comes to politics on ground over there in Tamil Nadu? Suman C. Raman.
Look, I don't think anybody has an objection or a problem with the government of India looking at the larger picture. And I think that it's very important that the government has to think from the geopolitical perspective, from the defense perspective, in terms of India's best interest, with the hegemony of China coming into play in Sri Lanka as well. So that is not a question at all. The question is also, should India not hold the Sri Lankan government accountable to its own promises that it's made? What happened in Sri Lanka in 2009 was a genocide. I think that is accepted by almost everybody, that it was a kind of a pogrom and it was a kind of a genocide. Now there are two angles to it. One is seeking retribution or bringing those people to justice by using the United Nations, the Human Rights Commission and so on. That India may not want to push beyond a point because of obvious reasons. But having said that, that does not mean that you completely eliminate the issue of the Sri Lankan Tamil population from your relationship. They do constitute a very, very important part. And by the way, the Tamils whom the Prime Minister addressed today are plantation Tamils. They are not the actual Tamils of the northern and eastern part of Sri Lanka who have historical ties. Now we are talking of Buddhism and the ties that Buddhism binds the two countries together. So do the ties of the Sri Lankan Tamils of the northern and eastern part with not just the state of Tamil Nadu. They are Indian. I mean, the fishermen who are getting caught are not just Tamil fishermen, they are Indian fishermen, for God's sake. So I think that we are seeing this in a very, very myopic perspective. I fully support the government when it tries to look at the bigger picture, but you cannot completely ignore this fisherman issue. It would have been great if we had seen a statement of some kind being made by the Prime Minister that we are going to engage with the Sri Lankan government and try to sort out this issue at some point of time, or a statement towards holding the Sri Lankan government accountable to its own promises, whether it is in relationship to the 13th Amendment, whether it is in relationship with the demilitarization of the North and East, whether it is in the relationship to return of land which was promised, which was taken away from the Tamils there. So I am saying that there is, the two are not necessarily contradictory. It need not be one or the other. It can be a bit of both.
All right. Subansi Raman, you made a number of points. General Ashok Mehta wants to counter you on that. Go ahead, gentlemen.
No, I'm not going to counter him. But I think we are missing the wood for the trees. After a long time, we have a government in Sri Lanka that is pro-India. And that government is in place largely through India's own efforts. Now, on the sidelines, there is a gentleman called former President Mahinda Rajapaksa.
And the votes of the Tamils.
Mahinda Rajapaksa with the Chinese are only waiting for an opportunity when the combine of Ranil Wickremesinghe and Maithripala Sirisena make a slip. So India has to balance this very carefully,
cautiously.
And it cannot push Sri Lanka on what this gentleman was saying on the, I don't think the word genocide is right here, but on the human rights allegations and the human rights issues that
well,
came
70,000 people died.
The government of India,
absolutely.
the government of India,
I think that is a tragedy.
the government
if you are not
of
going to
India
call it a genocide.
during Ranil Wickremesinghe's visit
I think
last month
look,
said
bombing,
that we earnestly hope
bombing
that the
innocent
government
civilians
of Sri
stranded on a
Lanka
beach does not
will-
constitute genocide.
will-
Killing of
will-
60,000 people
will
does not
by its
constitute genocide.
commitments made to the UNHRC Geneva in 2 years. The Sri Lankan government has bought 2 years from the UNHRC. So the government of India is not pushing the Sri Lankan government, letting it take its own pace to address the Tamil grievances. And I don't think there should be any doubt about that. You push this government, Mahinda Rajapaksa of the joint opposition will come back into
Important
power,
point.
and
Yes.
we will be back to square one. We cannot let that happen. So this cultural diplomacy...
one second. Can I make a point? Can I make a point? 1 minute.
The focus
Can
of this
you
cultural
tell me-
diplomacy
No, I want to
is
me.
Yes, one at a time, gentlemen, one at a time. One at a time.
stability in Sri Lanka,
General
which is
Mehta-
most important to us.
Ashok Mehta is
Can General
Quickly,
Mehta-
very quickly, very quickly. Yeah.
very correct.
What do we call the killing
picture is more
of
important.
what can General Mehta please tell us what is 1 minute, please, 1 minute. Can 1 minute.
Yes,
Can
go ahead,
General
Subansi Raman, go
Mehta
ahead.
Please tell us what bombing unarmed civilians who are standing on a beach. Okay, what can General Mehta tell us? What do we call killing of 60,000 innocent people who are unarmed,
All right,
defenseless?
but many would argue, Subansi Raman, that diplomacy is not about arm twisting. Diplomacy can't be about arm twisting. I want to get in a quick word
I have
from
done a lot
1
of
minute.
research on this. I have done a lot of research during the war.
What is the
Those
word for that?
figures,
I'm
those
intrigued in knowing what
investigations
word the
have to
general would
take
like to give
place.
for that.
These
What is
figures
the
of
word?
40,000,
What is the word general would like to give for that?
are conjectures.
All right.
And these figures
Let's get out of that debate and let me get across to Mr. Madan, who's still with us
And who
from
is going to
Colombo.
investigate,
Mr. Madan,
General?
what is your
Who
view
is
on
going to
this?
do
How
that
successful
investigation?
has this
Who
been?
is going
The
to do that
issue of
investigation?
Tamils in Sri Lanka, many feel over here domestically has not been adequately addressed. What is your view on that? And particularly, of course, the outreach that Prime Minister has tried to make on ground.
I think these kind of things in this time. This is actually it's not official visit, right? It's for the international Vesak festival. It's like a peace visit. So we have to talk about like this. In other hand, we have so many problems to solve out with the Indian support. Even as they mentioned earlier, the UNHCR problem, and there are investigations, and we are seeking some international judiciary judgments and everything. So this is a different kind of thing. And political solution and fishermen issues, and there are coast guard issues, and there are so many issues. So that is an apart from, we have to talk about a separate thing. I feel better now. These visits is totally different.
We're completely out of time, Mr. Madan. I'm afraid we'll have to end the discussion at this point in time. I'd like to thank Suman C. Raman, Major General Ashok Mehta, as well as Ajaz, Ilmi and Sarvan for joining us on this discussion. Of course, many would say the second visit in 6 months. One will have to tread very cautiously. When it comes to diplomacy, there can be no arm twisting, and perhaps that's the right step in which this visit has shown direction. That's about all the time we have on Inside today. Thanks so much for watching. Nation at 9 is up next.